Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this poncho style wrap that you've seen on the mannequin there. Now it can be worn as a regular wrap if you'd like. So it's extremely easy to do. It's very pretty. It's nice, thick and warm. Look, it's sewn. Here's your neck opening that folds over, and then it's kind of sewn here and then left unsewn the rest of the way, so you can move your arm freely. And I mentioned in the video, you can sew it more or less if you like, or all the way if you want. It really doesn't matter, or use it as a regular wrap. So the stitches are very easy. It does have bobbles and double crochet and single crochet, which if you can double and single, I'll show you how to do the rest. You can add fringe if you want. I go over that, and you can adjust it to any size that you want. Now I will give you the dimensions of this wrap before I sewed it together. Okay, so before it was sewn together, it measured 76 inches long and 20 inches wide. Now that can be adjusted to your liking. Now the mannequin that you see it on is 6 foot tall. So if you want it shorter, you can just adjust your chain length, because I'll give you the multiple to make it shorter. If you like the way that it looks, that's fine. You can do it how I do it. But yeah, it's really easy. You guys want to go ahead and get started? Let's do it. All right, so for this yarn that you see the mannequin wearing is Hayfield Bonanza Chunky. So you don't have to use this yarn, but just in case you want to know anything about it, this is classified as a bulky number 5 weight. And there are approximately 592 meters or 647 yards. Now to complete the project in the size that I did, you're probably going to need about 850 yards of a bulky number 5. Excuse me. Now, this is the color that I use, Hazel Twirl. Now remember, you do not have to use this yarn. You don't even have to use a bulky 5. You can use a 4-weight yarn if you choose. I'm going to give you the stitch multiple so you can make it as big as you want, as long as you want. Now remember, I said my mannequin is 6 foot tall, and you can see how it looks on her. So just remember that if you do not use a bulky 5 and you choose to use like a 4-weight, you'll need more yarn than the approximately 850 yards that I'm saying of a bulky 5. And for the bulky 5, I used a K, which is a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. If you're going to be using a 4-weight yarn, I would recommend a 6 millimeter crochet hook. All right, now remember, it's extremely customizable to fit you however you want it to fit you. And also, this stitch would make an excellent blanket or just a rectangle wrap, as I mentioned. All right, so remember, for the bulky 5 that I'm using the K, which is a 6.5. If you're going to be using a 4-weight, I would recommend a 6 millimeter. And you'll probably need about 1,000 yards of a 4-weight, if that will help you out to complete this project in the size that I'm making it. All right, so this stitch is done in a multiple of 6. All right, so which means that you just need to chain in multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18, so on and so on, to where your ending chain is evenly divisible by 6. All right. Now, for the size that I made, and the size that I talked about, and the size that you see in the picture, working with the yarn that I'm working with, we're going to start out with a chain of 180. All right, it's a big long chain of 180. But remember, you can adjust that size by just doing multiples of 6 to whatever size you want. All right, I'm going to be showing you on a smaller scale since the big piece is already done. But what you get, if you're following along with me, once you get your chain of 180 stitches, we are going to do a single crochet in the second stitch from our hook. Now remember, the one that's on our hook does not count as a stitch. So we go 1 and 2, and in that second stitch we're going to make a single crochet. And then we're going to work across, and we're going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch for the length of the chain. So row 1 is this 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get to the end of the row. All right, once you make it to the end of row 1, if you're following along with me, you should have a total of 179 stitches. Now 179, following along with me, is the number you will have for every row from now on. This is a very easy 4-row repeat. So we're getting ready to start row 2. So rows 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the repeat rows. All right, so we're going to start row 2 by chaining 1 and turning our work. So that chain 1, it doesn't count as a stitch, all right? It doesn't count as anything. So we're just going to pretend like it's not even there. And we're going to go right into this very first stitch here, and we're going to work a double crochet. Just like that. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet in every single stitch until we make it to the end of the row. So row 2 is just 1 double in every stitch. Just like this. So I'm going to continue putting 1 double crochet in every stitch, and I'll meet back up with you when we make it to the end of the row. Alright, so I made it to the end of row 2, and you still should have your 179 stitches. So let's go ahead and start row 3. Row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. So this is going to be a bobble stitch row. And we are going to start out by putting 1 single crochet into the first 5 stitches. So this chain 1 that we did does not count as a stitch, all right? It doesn't count as anything. So we're going to go back into this very first stitch, and we're going to do a single crochet. Remember, we want 5 in a row. So there's 1, the next one, 2, the next one, 3, the next one, 4, the next one is 5, and now we're going to put a bobble into the next stitch. Now I'm going to show you how we do the bobble. The bobble is a double crochet 5 together. So what we're going to do is yarn over and go into the next stitch and draw up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Now we want to do that 5 times total, so that would be considered number 1. Again, we're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop. Now you got 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through the first 2. Again, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop. Now you can see that you have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through the first 2. So we've done that 3 times. We need a total of 5. Again, we're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop. Now you can see that you have 6 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through the first 2. That's 4 times. One more time. We're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop. And now you got 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through the first 2 like that, which will give you 6 loops that remain. Now we're going to yarn over and go through all 6 loops that remain, give it a tug, and then we're going to single crochet into the next 5 stitches. So go into the next one and single crochet. There's 1, the next one, 2, the next one, 3, the next one, 4, and the next one is 5. So that was 5 in a row. Now the next one is going to be the bobble. Now if you look, bobbles are always worked on the opposite side. So if I was to turn my work to the front, there you see that nice beautiful bobble that we just made. So we did our 5 single crochets in a row. Now we need to do the bobble again. So let's go ahead and do it again. We're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go to the first 2 loops on our hook. We want to do that 5 times. So that was number 1. Again, yarn over, same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. That's 2 times. Yarn over, go in the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. That's 3 times. Yarn over, go into the same stitch and draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. That's 4 times. One more time, we're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. You should have 6 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 6. Give it a tug to tighten it. And then we're going to put 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we would do our bobble in the next. Turn it around, and that's what it looks like. So we're going to repeat this pattern until we get to the end of the row. You should be able to complete a full repeat ending in a bobble, and then 5 single crochets should finish out your row. So one more time, let's go ahead and do a bobble into the next stitch. Six loops, yarn over and go through all 6, give it a tug, tighten it, and then 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this pattern until I get to the end of the row. It's 5 single crochets and then a bobble, 5 single crochets and a bobble, and I'll meet back up with you at the end. All right, and I was able to do a complete repeat. I did a bobble, and then I had 5 single crochets that remain. So both the ending and the beginning start with 5 single crochets. Now we are going to start row 4, which is actually a repeat of row 2. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now, at the end of row 3, you still should have 179 stitches. That bobble counts as 1 stitch. So you count your single crochets and your bobbles, you should have 179 if you're following along with me. So that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We're going to go right back here into the very first one, and we're going to do a double crochet. And we're just going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we make it to the end of the row. Just like this. And when you get to the bobble, it counts as a stitch as well. So you just double crochet into the top of it. If you look at the bobble right here, you'll be able to see the top of the bobble, these 2 loops. If you kind of just flip it right there. Double crochet into that 1 time. That counts as 1 stitch. And I'm just going to continue putting 1 double crochet in every stitch until I make it to the end of row 4. All right, so I've made it to the end of row 4. And now we're going to start row 5, which is the final repeat row. And it's similar to the bobble stitch row, except for we are going to do, excuse me, our bobbles catty-cornered from the row that we did before. So row 5, we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. That chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we're going to start off and put a single crochet into the first 2 stitches. So this one right here and this one right here. Single crochet. Like that. And now we're going to start the repeat of row 5. We're going to put a bobble into the next stitch, just like we did on the previous row, or 2 rows before, I'm sorry. The bobble is worked the same. Now we're going to put 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to repeat. We're going to put a bobble into the next stitch. Give it a tug, 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. So that is going to be the repeat for row 5, and you can see the only difference is how we start and then how we finish. So I'm going to repeat this pattern of a bobble and then 1 single in the next 5, a bobble, 1 single in the next 5, until I get to the last 2 stitches of my row. Alright, so I just did a bobble and I have 2 stitches that remain. I want to go ahead and put a single crochet, 1 single crochet in the remaining 2 stitches. So that will match the beginning where we started with 2 single crochets before the bobble. So now all this pattern is just now a repeat of rows 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can see this is what it looks like. The bobbles just are catty corner now. So what you would do is just keep repeating rows 2, 3, 4, and 5. Very easy stitch repeat until you get to your desired length. Now if you want to follow along with me, you want to repeat rows 2, 3, 4, and 5 until you reach approximately 20 inches. Now you can do it bigger or smaller, but mine is approximately 20 inches. All right, we're going by measurements, not row count, since every bulky 5 is kind of different, you know. Just till you reach approximately 20 inches, following along with me. All right, so I'm going to show you on a smaller scale. So you've repeated rows 2 through 5 and you met your 20-inch marker, or if you want, you know, however big you want it. So you want to end on a row 5 repeat, which I just did. Now what we're going to do is very simple. What we will do is chain 1 and turn our work, and what we're going to do is we are going to just finish it off by neatly doing a single crochet all the way around and putting 4 single crochets in each of the 4 corners. This will give it a nice clean look. So I chained 1 and turn, and I'm going to start out right here in this very first stitch. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, and I'm going to work 4 single crochets into it because this is going to be our first corner. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I'm going to go across and I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch across the top, including 1 single crochet on top of the bobble. This is our finishing row, just to kind of clean up all the edges, make it look a little neater. So I'm just going to go across the top, working 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to my next corner. Just like that. I'll meet you at the next corner. Alright, when you make it here to the end, the last stitch will be your corner stitch. Go ahead and put 4 single crochets into that last stitch. 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to be working along the side. Now it's going to be very hard to see your stitches, so what you just do is kind of do your best to evenly space out single crochets all the way down. Just do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect, and no one's is going to be the same. Just evenly space out single crochet stitches along the sides as best as you can until you get to your next corner. Alright, and this is what we're going to do all the way around. So remember, the amount of stitches you have now, there's no right or wrong. It's just you doing your best to evenly space out. Sometimes it's hard to evenly space out your single crochet stitches. And then when you get to the next corner, which I'm coming up on, you'd put 4 single crochets into that corner. So right here, I'd put 4 single crochets, and then I would continue along putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I made it to this corner. I'd put 4 single crochets into that corner, and then I would evenly space up 1 single crochet up the side the best I can, you know, just kind of evenly space them like I did here. It just makes a nice clean edge. And then when you get back to your starting point, you would go ahead and end by slip stitching into your first single crochet and tying that off. All right, so that's what you do to get that nice clean edge around it, all the way around. Single crochets, and then 4 single crochets in each of the 4 corners. Okay, so once you went around your whole piece with the single crochet, you did the 4 single crochets in each of the corner stitches. Now we're going to sew it up. Now this is all just kind of a personal preference on how you want it sewn. So there's multiple ways you can do it. So you want to do is find the ends and line them up, and you can find which one you want to be the top and which one you want to be the bottom. It doesn't really matter, both kind of look the same. I'm going to make the bottom where we started, so you can see, well, no, I'm sorry, yeah, where we started down here, so you can see if I can find it here. It's hard. All right, here's the bottom row. You can see here's the row where I went around, where the single crochet edging row, and this was the very first row of single crochet we did, and then the second row was double crochet, and then the bobble row. But you know, that's completely up to you, but I'm going to put that towards the bottom of the poncho. Now if you want to leave it a wrap, by all means you can just leave it a wrap, and you can make it bigger, you know, if you want, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to be sewing the top up. Now I'm going to be going by measurements. Okay, now you can do yours different if you want. So make sure that you're all lined up here and your edges are all lined up here, so we got a good idea of where you want to sew. So for the neck opening, I think I'll probably leave approximately, so let me bring my camera up here. Now this can be different for everybody. You can adjust this. I'm not going to give you a specific stitch count because going around it in single crochet, everybody's going to have a different amount. But I'm going to leave approximately in between 10.5 and 11 inches for the neck opening. So what I'm going to do is get a stitch marker. I'm probably going to need a couple stitch markers. I'm just going to use a piece of yarn. So I'm going to measure from this end. Now this is the top of my work. I decided I wanted this to be the top, and I'm going to measure right here. 10.5 is right about here. Just do your best to kind of, you know, get an idea. Hey, that's about 10.5. Now if you want your neck opening bigger, go ahead. I'm going through both pieces, front and back. Go ahead and make it bigger if you want. Now I'm not going to sew mine together all the way down. Now you can if you want. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to probably sew about after my neck opening. I'm going to leave my neck opening open, of course. You know, I'm going to leave that open. That's going to be my neck opening. If you want it bigger, you can. It's going to fold kind of like that. That is entirely up to you. But after the neck opening, I think I'll probably sew down another, let me look here, 8 inches. So I'm just kind of marking off 8 inches. I'm doing the best that I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. And I'm going to mark that off. So this is the only spot at the top that I am actually going to sew. is in between the neckline and my 8-inch marker. Now if you want to sew all the way down, have at it. If you want to sew more than 8 inches, have at it. But one thing I'm going to do, remember this is highly customizable to you, however you want to do it. I'm just going to kind of line them up again and make sure they are still in line. And they are. So what I'm going to do now, sorry I don't have a lot of desk room, is in between my neck opening, which I will leave open. So in between this stitch marker and this stitch marker is the only part that I'm going to sew up. I'm going to leave the rest of this open so you know you can move your arms and whatnot. But if you want it to go down more, go ahead. If you want to add buttons, go ahead. You know, whatever you want to do, it's your piece. You do it however you want. I'm just giving you a kind of a base idea. You know, just kind of a base idea. Now to sew it up, I'm going to use the same yarn, and I think I'm just going to go from the right side of the work. Here's the top. This is the right side of my work. I think I'm simply just going to, let's see, slip stitch it together. Let me look here. Let me think if that's what I want to do. No, I'm not. I'm going to flip it inside out so you won't be able to see the seam. So I'm flipping it inside out so you can see this is the wrong side of my work. In my neck opening, I do not sew because, you know, you want to be able to put your head in it. But I'm going to sew from the stitch marker that I marked off from my neck opening, and the stitch marker I marked off approximately, I think, 7 or 8 inches from there. I can't remember. I'm going to sew this area shut. That's the only piece I'm going to sew. So I'm going to remove the stitch marker from this piece down here. And that's what I'm going to start in. I hope I'm making sense. Like I said, it's not like nothing has to be perfect here. So if you don't get it exactly right, you know, it's okay. So what I'm going to do is to go into each loop has 2 loops. I'm going to go in, you can see them on my hook right now. I'm going to go in the front loop on the front piece and the back loop on the back piece. And I'm going to go ahead and pull my yarn through. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to do that all the way up to my next stitch marker. So I'm going to go into the front loop on the next stitch and the back loop on the next stitch and slip stitch. So I'm just slip stitching mine shut up until my stitch marker. So I'm going to go in the front loop on the next stitch and the back loop on the next stitch and slip stitch. Now if you are familiar with sewing things together a different way, like I said, by all means you can sew it together however you want. You can single crochet it together. You can slip stitch it together going through both loops on each stitch. You can use a yarn needle and sew it together. I'm just kind of giving you an idea. Remember, you do not have to do it like me. I always say you do it the way you feel most comfortable. It's still going to turn out the same. The piece is going to get sewn together regardless of how you do it. So I'm going to continue along until I get up to my stitch marker. And please remember, you can make this bigger if you want. The piece that you're sewing, it really depends on how far down, you know, you want to sew. Everybody will be different. I'm just showing you kind of how I did mine. And I'm almost to my stitch marker. And I am. So I'm going to go ahead and take that stitch marker out here. I guess I could have used a different color than gray. Probably would have been easier to see, but that's okay. So this is where we marked off for the neck opening here. I'll take that stitch marker out, don't need it anymore. And I'm going to go into that last stitch here and slip stitch, and I'm going to tie this off. And then remember, that's the only part I'm sewing on this, okay? That's it for me. I'm going to hide this tail, and then I'm going to hide this tail nice and tight because this is what's going to hold this spot open. You know what I'm actually going to do with this end piece that we started in? I'm actually going to take it through, I think, the next stitch, through both loops. You don't have to do this. So I'm taking this tail right now, because when you flip it over, you see that it's kind of pulling those two stitches apart. So what I'm going to do to kind of make it more secure is I'm going to go into the stitch behind it with the tail, and the stitch behind that with the tail, and I'm going to pull it through both of those loops, and then I'm going to put a knot there. There we go. There we go. Now it's going to be a little bit more secure there. All right. I hope that made sense. Now I'm going to flip it. Oh, I'm going to hide these tails really, really, really good. I'm going to knot them and hide them really good, because we don't want them stretching out or coming undone. And once that's done, we can flip it back around. Now my piece is done. I don't want to do anything else to mine. When I put it on, I'll just fold the collar over like that, and that'll be done. You can always sew buttons. I might not. I don't know. If you want, you know, just for decoration. If you see it in the picture, that means I decided to do it. If not, I didn't decide, but you could sew a couple buttons here on the part that you sewed, you know, just, you know, they wouldn't be functional, but they would be for decoration. So, you know, that's always something you can do. These are, I think 25 millimeter buttons, 1.5 inches. I don't know. Something like, they're about 1.5 inches buttons. But that's it. That's it. That's all there is to it. It's super easy, and it's super pretty. Now, if you put this on and you decide that you want more sewn here, you can definitely go back into it, flip it inside out again, and sew a little bit more the same way that you sewed. Like say you want a few more inches of it sewn, well, just start down here and sew back up to where you started. Make sure though, when you hide your tails, that they're hidden nice and tight, knot it up really good, because we don't want it coming undone, because there's a lot of weight down here that's not sewn. So that's it. Easy, easy, easy. Nice, beautiful, functional piece. Can be worn as a casual dress up, or it can be worn as a fancy dress up, depending on what you wear underneath it. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my other tutorials or yarn content. Another thing you can do is add fringe if you want. I'm going to leave that off. I think it's the yarn that I chose is pretty busy, so I'm not going to busy it up with any more fringe, but yeah, I like it. So subscribe, like, leave me a comment below. You know what? I'll see you guys on my next video, okay? Thanks for watching. Bye.